Wait to start. Let's get started. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:00 p.m. Welcome to the January 13th, 2025 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that this Planning Commission meeting is being held in person and using the Zoom webinar format. Please note that we are not accepting remote public comment during commission meetings. Agenda item number 2, roll call. The record should note that 6 members are present, though I think Commissioner Say is on her way, but she is currently absent, but we'll wait for her. Agenda item number 3, request for AB 2249 remote participation. None for this evening. We do have a special announcement by City Attorney Guina. So go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. With Chair and Commission's indulgence, I just wanted to do a brief introduction. So as you know, Assistant City Attorney Scott Spansale has left the city for another agency. I'll be doing a recruitment for his replacement, but until then, we need somebody who could staff the commission, provide legal support on a regular basis. So Christy Crowell from the Jarvis Fay Law Firm will be filling that role. Christy has done a lot of work for the city on and advised us on some of our really big development projects, such as the DIVCO 1300 Old Bayshore project. Very familiar with the city's zoning ordinance, our procedures. She's also been here as well in a support role with Scott. So hopefully she is a familiar face to you. But I have, you know, my trust is with Christy, and I know that she will provide you with the level of legal support that you know, you're used to, that you know the city attorney's office wants to provide the commission. So I just wanted to introduce her. She'll be taking over the meeting starting from here, but wanted to, you know, do that introduction. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Welcome. There's Commissioner Say. Agenda item number 4, review of the agenda. Staff, do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
We have no changes to the agenda.
And commissioners, do we have any recusals this evening? No. No. Okay. Agenda item number 5, public comments, non-agenda. Members of the public may speak about any item not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for future Planning Commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits the Planning Commission from acting on any matter that is not on our agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on any items not on the agenda? Okay, then we can move on to the next item. Agenda item number 6, consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine. They are acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by the applicant, a member of the public, or a commissioner prior to the time the commission votes on the motion to adopt. This evening, we have 2 items on the consent calendar. Item 6A and item 6B. 6A is draft of the October 15th Planning Commission meeting minutes. Item 6B is draft of the December 9th Planning Commission meeting minutes. Would any member of the public or planning commissioners like to pull these items for discussion? No? And do we have any motions to approve?
I can move to approve. I think we already approved, I believe we approved October 15th, but I will go ahead and I would like to move that the minutes from October 15th as the minutes from December 9th are okay.
Second?
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Pfaff, second by Commissioner Schmidt. Any discussion? No? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. The motion passes 7-0-0-0. All right, on to agenda item number 7, action items. First one up is item 7A, 2319 Easton Drive. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Okay, seeing none, let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear staff report, please?
This application is for design review, front setback variances, and special permits for building height and declining height envelope for a second and third story addition to an existing single-unit dwelling zoned R1. The project has a total floor area of 5,692 square feet, where 5,700 square feet is the maximum allowed. The applicant is requesting front setback variances to the second and third story additions due to the lot configuration along Easton Creek. The front setback variances are to align the additions with the existing footprint of the main dwelling footprint. The applicant is also requesting special permits for the proposed building height and for the declining height envelope encroachment of the second story addition at the side of the dwelling. The proposed third story height would be 31 feet and 2 inches, where a special permit is required for building heights between 30 and 36 feet. The existing second story has a non-conforming encroachment of 218 square feet at the right side of the dwelling, and the requested special permit is for the second story addition at the right side, which extends into the declining height envelope by 64 square feet. The existing dwelling contains 6 bedrooms. With the addition, it would have a total of 7 bedrooms. 3 parking spaces are required, 2 which must be covered. Parking requirements have been met. The project also contains an ADU. The ADU is processed as an administrative permit. Staff has determined that the ADU meets code requirements. Staff is recommending approval of the requests for design review, front setback variances, and special permits based on the findings found in the staff report and draft resolution. This concludes my presentation. The applicant is available to address any questions, but first, do you have any questions for staff?
Thank you very much. Any questions, Commissioner Camardo?
I just have a quick question. Is this property within half mile from public transportation? I'm just wondering if it is regarding the parking criteria. 'Cause I noticed on a different project that it is, and so they don't.
We can double check that. I believe it is. And for clarification, I believe the ADU permit has already been issued. This is a while back, so the plans do show the ADU there, but I believe it's already been permitted and under construction and maybe
Right, it was built,
built already.
yeah, built and final. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? No? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Applicant has come forward. Please state your name and anything else you'd like to add about your project.
Yes, my name is Alex Wolodarski. I designed this. And last time we met, you had an issue with hip roofs and a couple of window treatments in the front, which were all corrected. And the height remained the same. Floor plan remained the same. There were very few changes. Thank you very much. We tried to bring the design to match existing as much as possible. And hopefully the quality of the work will reflect it as well, because it's a very interesting building, unusual building, let's put it this way. And I want to keep it that way.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Commissioner Pfaff?
Yeah. So I'm looking at page A3.3. There is a south elevation that, and I don't know how visible this is outwardly, on your new addition up at the top. It's that thin window. Did you consider, do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yes,
It's
I do.
elongated. It's kind of an outlier. Did you consider other, you have a bunch of very beautiful windows on here, both existing and new ones you've done. Did you consider anything different, or
Well,
look at this one? I guess?
yeah, this window is not visible from anywhere. I mean, nowhere. Not the back, not the side, not the front, anywhere. It's not seen. The only thing it does, it's a thin, narrow light. It's a high window, nothing else. And if it was seen at all, I would definitely consider it. But there's a very high roof next to it, so there's not enough space for normal window. Plus, we don't really need a big window there. It's just accent for the light to bring a little bit of a modern look to that room, nothing else.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not seen at all.
Mhm. I thought, but was wondering.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? And please note that you're limited to 3 minutes. No? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, comments or motions? Commissioner Say, start us off.
Sorry, got a new laptop. It's bigger than I think my microphone. Yes, I just wanted to say that I think, first of all, I think it's a very beautifully designed home that complements obviously the current home in style. And I think that the improvements made on the design are aligned with most of our comments the last go around. I appreciate the changes that were made, especially with the conversion back to the hip roof detail to match the majority of the home. And I like also the attention to that little accent feature around the staircase windows on that front elevation. I think nice improvement as well. So I appreciate the applicant addressing our comments. And I think I commented last time too that I don't have any issues with the special permits and the variance requests. And so I can see moving this project forward.
Okay. I agree. I think that the changes added value, and I appreciate the changes being made, and I can support this. Unless there's other comments, I'll make a motion.
And sorry, through the chair, if your motion can include all the applications and that they're based on the findings
Be easier
in the
that piece of paper.
but
anyway,
computer screen.
I'm going to make an attempt. No, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this project with the setback height and declining height variance requests
And design review.
and design review based upon the revised changes.
And the findings in the draft resolution.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Schmid, a second by Commissioner Say. Any discussion on the motion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner,
Oh,
go ahead.
Commissioner Camerado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Schnorrs,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-0-0. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you. Just one thing. In our design, we envision to remove the existing tile roof and essentially reposition it on the second floor and the third floor, use the same roof. But I just want to make sure it's stated in the plans, but I want to make sure the building department is aware of it because it's a very important feature. We want to keep the roof as it is.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. I'm sure they'll notice that.
Very
online.
beautiful.
I hope so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good evening.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us on to item 7B, 1551 Los Montes Drive. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to know any ex parte communications regarding this project? Commissioner Stay.
Yes, I was able to visit the project site and met with the homeowner. I got a tour of the backyard. And I also met the homeowner for, where is the address? 1542 Los Altos as well, and got to see the impact of their view by the pergola.
Very good. Let the record note that all commissioners have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report?
Wait a sec.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I did not visit the project site. I did not. I just looked at the pictures from staff. I have to be honest.
Thank you for your honesty.
Didn't, sure.
Mhm.
I didn't think I could get back there is the truth of it. So anyway.
Fair enough. Okay. Staff report, please.
Yes, this is an application for hillside area construction permit for an as-built detached pergola at the rear of an existing single-unit dwelling at 1551 Los Montes Drive, zoned R1. Just to give you a little background, in September of 2024, the Code Enforcement Division received a complaint regarding construction of a new detached pergola at the site. Upon further investigation, the city determined that it was built without the benefit of a required building permit. The applicant subsequently submitted required applications for a building permit and also a hillside area construction permit. Required notices were sent to the surrounding neighbors for the hillside area construction permit request, and the neighbor to the rear of the project called it up for review by a planning commission. And they were noting concern with the structure blocking long-distant views. The applicant is requesting approval of an as-built detached pergola located at the rear right corner of the lot and behind the existing house. The detached pergola measures 360 square feet or 18 by 20 in size. The pergola complies with the development standards required for accessory structures in the R1 zoning district. The subject property is located in the hillside overlay zone, and code section 25.20.040 states that hillside development shall be designed to preserve existing distant views. View preservation shall be limited to obstruction of distant views to San Francisco Bay, the San Francisco Airport, and Mills Canyon from primary indoor living areas. So staff visited the neighboring property at 1542 Los Altos Drive on January 8th to observe the view from the primary indoor living area within the dwelling. In this case, it's a family room. And based on the location of the as-built pergola, photos were taken, and those photos are included in your staff report. Staff's recommendation is to deny the hillside area construction permit because the location of the pergola obstructs distant views to San Francisco Bay from an indoor primary living area. And based on the findings included in your staff report and in the draft resolution. The applicant is here to answer questions, but first, do you have any questions for staff?
Any questions for staff? No? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like us to know about your project?
I'd also like to note that the property owner is also online, joining online.
Good evening, Chris Algaro, project manager here for the pergola, trying to represent our client who's attending over Zoom as well. Staff report was very detailed. We definitely don't want to impede on anybody's, day views. It was a little tricky here when you see, are the backyard sunken? Kind of didn't really focus on the houses. The construction of the Los Altos property too, it has like multiple living rooms, but in any case, we're here to just find out what are our options. You can see in the staff report, we felt that, hey, not passing the height of the existing home. Sorry. And then also the fact that with the utility poles, they had a 5-foot easement back there. I thought with the utility pole, the lines, again, fire resistant material here was really nice benefit. Also on a cloudy day, it's almost invisible with the color. So we didn't feel that we were impeding that much, but of course we never went into the neighboring's house in a specific angle from one corner of the window to look at the property. But it's our first time doing a public hearing and just trying to do the best for our client at this point.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Did you guys look at lowering the grade? Because it appears, right, yours is going uphill. Theirs is kind of, their backyard's flat and aligns kind of with that upper area of yours.
Yes, so we typically average 9.5 to 10.5 feet tall. So it's nothing, different here. And then we actually, before coming to this public hearing, like I said, as in the report, we went to the neighboring property asking them, I wanted to put some blue tapes on there saying, hey, if I lower this, can we approve it? And, they politely declined. They wanted to shift it off to the right. I don't know how many pictures you guys can really get a feel of the area, but it's like pushing it off to the right, basically takes it off of their deck and onto their pavers, and she said she tried umbrellas, and an interesting point, she said, these don't know, because, I know it's as is for the view, but there was these existing trees that they permanently removed, so they wouldn't even have, quote unquote, the view that they had. But we definitely will abide in trying to find out what a peaceful resolution is.
Okay, let me rephrase my question.
Mhm.
Has it been looked at to excavate any of that high dirt up there to be able to create a lower deck point and then being able to lower the whole pergola structure?
So we're actually not on the deck. That we have our concrete footings. We do everything to code. Got plenty of permit experiences all over the Bay Area. So it's actually all the way down to the ground level, our posts. So we cut the part into the deck, and that's the post. So I can change the height. They're custom installs basically. All the material comes in at 16 to 24 feet.
Right, but you have about 8 feet between the area where I put my chair and the top of the.
Yeah, I actually have the notes. I went back there because the deck that she had there with the privacy wall was all permitted. That's how she found out the 5-foot easement. And I have the notes here on how much from the fence line, how many more inches we are above that. It's nothing drastic. And I know that my material is about 7 inches of a post, 8 inches of a beam, and I can give you the exact distance I am above the fence at this point. If you give me a second.
Commissioner Schmidt?
About the actual
Yeah.
Or no?
and not the pergola.
Of her deck.
Yeah.
Has anybody thought about digging down 5 feet and therefore the whole surface goes down along with the pergola?
True, but I mean,
It
again,
could mean a retaining wall on the back fence, but it would lower the rear yard so that then they could have something back there
the
that,
deck is pretty low. I mean, it's a unique property because you walk in, it goes down over here, and she did that deck permitted. I know that. So that deck, however, the wall that you see there, the deck there, that was already previous permitted. I'm coming in with the pergola, post that. So you're talking lowering the deck. I mean, my post is already going through it to the ground.
Yeah.
It's basically just lowering my structure, I think would be the route instead of the entire deck. I don't know how she'll do that because it's level to the pavers. It's a lot more stuff.
no, it's definitely a lot more work. I know, what I'm asking. But I'm also trying to provide options that
Yeah.
negatively impact the neighbors.
Talking to the staff, a few times, learning the process here because we paid for the traditional permit route, and then all of a sudden the hillside was another fee, which I try to prep my clients on average costs and things like that. So we're already a little bit above. But when they say moving it off to the, depending on which direction you're looking, if I go into the right, if I'm looking from Los Altos way, I'm like, how much to the right? Is the decision there based on that homeowner? Do they tell me 2 feet were clear? Do I leave it to the edge of that house line, lowering it? I mean, we're open, but just don't know what will pass at this point.
Is there any reason why you didn't apply for a permit originally?
No reason. We typically leave it up to the homeowners, most of the time. But in this case, she's been there since 2012. And she, I guess, heard some horror stories from some neighbors, things that got denied, things that got approved. We know that we're licensed, bonded, and insured. And we build everything to code. And I've had some projects around the Bay Area where, we had to pull a permit post and everything passed. I mean, I know we're comfortable in that regards. Obviously, I've never gotten to the point where a neighbor has brought it to this level, but we're here to abide. You can see that the dates, we turned in the plans right away because, it's these are 20-year warranty on the material. So, we want to do it right. And they're kind of hose them down once or twice a year, but really gives you that 120-degree control on the louvers, light in, no light. Most of the time I'm attached to the house maybe, but this one was freestanding. It's a little bit different too.
I'm sure.
I just have it, and I know nothing about your brand. Would it be realistic to make it more of I don't know any other description except more of a shed, like a lower on one side and higher? I mean,
So we call it there's a gabled option. There is a gabled option, but that's going to go higher. We don't want gabled options. There's about a 1 to 2 degree tilt to these guys, but to the naked eye, you don't see it because it has an internal gutter system that flows out the water when the roof is closed. But the benefits of aluminum is just the color and the shape stays forever. and you can get to pretty cool expansions with limited post. So we think it's an elegant, obviously modern design. It's growing more and popular. I'm one of maybe like 20 different brands of these guys now, and definitely will learn if I get any future activity, always go to the, hillside planning, committee first before the actual normal city permit route. We learn as we go, but definitely, if this does get granted or my client feels that, a victory and somehow at the end, I definitely know what to, because we've had plenty of on the hills projects, but just never to the point where I guess it disturbed somebody. And here we did a lot of homework after we learned this, and I'm like, am I really disturbing too much? I mean, it's great, but I get it. It's a living area. I thought it was more impactful on the master bedroom, but they said living area, but then they have 2 living rooms. It's kind of like a nook off the dining area. But I know code's a code and ordinances, so we're ready.
Thank you.
How far back could you push it? What's the maximum?
They're custom. So I've done projects as small as 14 by 11s, as big as,
Change the size and
Correct.
put it back onto the terrace? Or you would,
it's up to my client at the end of the day. But how much is it impeding? Like I said, it's a really specific lower right to my left angle of one living room, the small living room, not the main one, from their backyard. Their backyard's sunken with a pool. There's no view whatsoever. But I get it. You move into a house, whether 2021, and you see that, and then you see this, I can see how that, but they don't know the history of the trees that were there already and all the other good stuff. So, but we could, betting on my client's approval.
Okay.
I just want to know how much, a little lower, a little to the right, or how drastic, as the neighbor want.
okay.
Chair. Yeah, so one of the reasons I wanted to go and see it in person was to see if there were any options. I understand how expensive the system can be. I specify these for my clients too. And so kind of feel, sad this is an unfortunate situation. There definitely is view blockage for the neighbor. Just like the photo shows, if you're standing there at their window, that's exactly what you see, that the distant view of the East Bay is completely hidden behind the horizontal members of your pergola. But looking at their yard, we were just shown kind of a Google Earth view of the property. There's if we go up higher, bird's eye view. Thank you. Whoever is doing that, that's very cool. So where the kind of AstroTurf is shown there, that kind of higher
Correct.
Area. So I asked the homeowner if that could be a potential location to relocate the pergola. She was saying that the reason they chose the pergola location was because when they entertain, that people tend to gravitate to that part of the deck. But that just could be, by virtue that's where there's been shade. There's been umbrellas there and maybe furniture. But maybe you could talk to her about moving it to the area up where this AstroTurf is as a higher setting. I don't think there's any potential view blockage. The structure immediately behind the neighbor next door is a detached garage. I think there might be some kind of guest space up above the garage, but that would not be a protected view space per our ordinance. But that might be a potential area, and then maybe just moving the pergola back across that same level where the deck is, like just, where are we? This is south of the deck before the stairs, that might be an area to provide some shade. Maybe you'd have to reduce the size a little bit. But I think you have to get beyond there's like a decorative arbor kind of feature at 1542 Los Altos, where they have a waterfall feature into their pool. I think you'd have to get to
That far.
in line with that in order to avoid blocking their view. So it seems like there is potential for you to reuse the elements, the materials, maybe reduce it in size, maybe relocate it to the upper section. But there seem to be some options.
Yeah.
You could
Thank you,
consider.
Commissioner Tees. I mean, unique part of our company, before any sales are made, we come out with a 3D camera and I'll scan all the proposed area so our clients can physically play around with sizes, colors, installation options, all that good stuff. So I actually scanned that high area because we're talking about that from the very beginning, potentially 2 structures, 1. I know when I stand on that grass area right there, I'm already above my client's roof. So now if I go 9.5 feet from there, there's a brand new construction right next door. I thought that would be way more impeding than staying below the roof line behind the house. Obviously hills and different angles, you got a neighbor behind, so that's a little different. So the 18 by 20 space, if you look at the gray part, that's a composited wooden deck. That 18 by 20 is pretty much in that space, not completely covered, but definitely from the property neighboring line, almost to the edge of the gray. So when you're talking about clearing her arbor, which you can kind of see the wisteria growing right there, you're talking about that's 20 feet off to the right when I'm behind somebody's house below. I mean, I feel that's a little drastic. But I mean, of course, if that's the only thing I can get approved, it's up to my client. I was thinking, if you look at one of the staff reports pictures, the angle, I mean, if I keep it to where the eaves end of the house potentially, I mean, if the house is there blocking the view, why can't my structure be, there's a better one with more angle, but you see where my client's roof line ends. Why would I feel like to go more beyond that? I feel that's asking more than what's needed.
Well, the issue is that you need to avoid blocking the view, the neighbors.
But there's a house there, so imagine my structure not passing the edge of their house.
Yeah, in this image, I think if your left post comes all the way in line with the eave of,
Yes,
which is basically where the electrical pole is,
yes.
that might be a,
Okay. From this angle, yeah,
from their view.
Sliding it 15 feet
exactly.
at least
Yeah.
to make any
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, because the wisteria is definitely way more than the eave line if you look at, but it's an angle, yeah.
Right.
Tricky. Even the pictures made it look a little bit more drastic, I think, than reality. But my client, you see in her report, there's some pictures too. And she specifically chose gray on gray. A lot of my structures are white, black, bronze, but she did that because, again, on that normal kind of clouds, mist, I mean, it's almost invisible. And like I said, the utility stuff is right there as well. But we're here to learn and definitely come to an agreement with what's best possible.
Well, any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? No? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to speak? Yeah, please. Please approach. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Yi Zhou. I am the homeowner of 1542 Los Altos Drive. So I want to, I believe Audrey has visited the property this afternoon. So you can probably easily tell that this area is a place that we hang out with the family a lot, especially we have a baby. So we always hang out next to this bay window. So yeah, it's very apparent that it's not because of this angle, or you can maybe say because it's at an angle, this pergola actually does intrude quite a lot into the view from our living room, family room. So I want to let you know about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Now we're going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments? Commissioner,
So
do you want to start?
I think it would need to slide pretty much off of the gray deck
Yeah.
to the left in order to not be a view blockage at the height that it's at now. I appreciate the several recommendations from Commissioner Say. Those are, what I would be looking at too. I realize that the grass area is higher, but it's in a corner with less impact. So I don't know that I can see how we can approve this kind of a view blockage, which is actually more than we've seen in quite a while. We've rejected for less. So I don't see how we can go this way. And I would support a revision that would not impact it, because otherwise what's being presented is a high quality product, and it's a good color and everything. It's just in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I personally agree. And it's regrettable that the homeowner chose a path of not getting a permit to begin with, or else a lot of this could have been discussed before a lot of money was already spent. So it's a little sensitive to me as a contractor because, getting permits is a big part of what we do. And obviously, it sounds like you guys have a very, above the table outfit, and you gave the homeowner the choice and they decided to go this route. And I was thinking that we might hear an applicant that said, I just didn't know it needed a permit, but that's not the case here. They knew they needed a permit, but they used horror stories as an excuse. I'm not so much sure that there's horror stories here, but I think we're pretty reasonable. So I think we do need to deny this. I would be more than happy to look at other alternatives, but it certainly can't block another person's view. That would be number one. So I have no problem making a motion to deny this application.
You do also have the option to make a motion to continue the application, and in your motion include, if the consensus of the commission is to give the applicant direction on what to do before they come back to you.
If someone else wants to try that, I don't see how there's an option here without seeing it visibly as a plan, because as Commissioner Schmidt said, it takes some drastic changes to this in order to make this work. And so I'm not sure if there's a continuance option, but I could be wrong. I'm open to that. I just don't see that.
Well, I think if we give the homeowner an opportunity with a continuance rather than just deny, because I don't see denying it and giving them the opportunity to appeal that this is going to go anywhere. So I think doing the continuance and giving them another opportunity to come back with another solution, I would recommend maybe doing some story pole testing and working with the neighbor so that it's either going to tell them that they can come to an agreement or it's going to tell them that they can't. But
what's the difference between denying and continuing if they come back with a new plan?
This gives them the opportunity without, because their only other option at this point, if you deny it, would be to appeal to city council, but it would be for this project. They wouldn't be able to alter the project before going to city
I
council.
think that would cost them more money to come back.
Yeah.
And start over with the second option.
The continuance, as Commissioner Schmidt mentioned, that they can work with the neighboring property owner. They can set up some story poles or at least orange netting and have the neighboring property view that. And perhaps if they come to a consensus that's enough to still provide them with a view of the bay and the East Bay Hills, then they can prepare the plans. I would suggest that the applicant not prepare a building permit set of plans, but at least a site plan, building elevations, and renderings. And then they would bring that to you for approval.
I see. So I'm fine with that.
Because otherwise, you start the fee process over again.
Yeah, I don't need that to happen, but.
I think we need to view it as if it was being approved for approval and know that we've been recommended to deny it, but we can see it as instead of approving it, we would say, no, come back to us with another plan. And I think the story poles idea is a good idea because 1542 Los Altos may no longer be impacted, but it'd be an opportunity for other neighbors to take a look if it gets relocated to another portion, as like I suggested, in the higher section of the yard. I couldn't see any view blockage there, but that doesn't mean that there couldn't be. So
How long does a continuance stay on the books? Like how long do they have from the time that we say the continued to they have to come back?
In terms of timing, essentially what the zoning code says is that if there's no activity for 6 months, then the application is withdrawn. So there has to be some activity between the applicant and the planner that's working on the project, but that's left open unless there's just no activity at all.
No, what about the existing structure? Does that need to come down immediately or is it after this is resolved?
After this is resolved.
So by continuing, we do kind of tax the people that have a view blockage for potentially half a year.
So is there a can we set, because it was a code enforcement action, is there a limitation based on the code enforcement action?
That we'd have to check with our city attorney's office and code enforcement division to see if there's some sort of limit on that.
Because usually there's got to get a permit by this date. And okay, we're not giving a permit at this point. So, and I'm not saying that we're pushing out the date. We're saying that we're continuing this decision. They still need to hustle and get it done in order to meet the code enforcement action.
Yeah, I think we would work with our code enforcement division to make sure we set some deadlines for them.
Is there a date certain that you would like to bring the project back? Because you could set a date certain for a specific meeting, and they would have to have everything prepared and done by that meeting.
Well, I'm just
Okay.
with the chair here. I don't want to just say, okay, now we've got 6 months or whatever because it's continued.
Yeah.
I would like to see that the code enforcement action be taken care of so that the neighbors can resolve this expediently. I'm not sure that I can say, ooh, February 14th is the day. That I don't care about, but I agree. I want to see it go 6, 9, 12 months and we don't get anywhere.
Christie, do you know if the commission can, in their motion, include a deadline of when the application has to be resubmitted to planning?
Sure, or we can,
You're on.
it's on. Oh, okay.
it's on.
It doesn't show like, yeah, we can set a date certain for the next hearing, if we want to do that, or give a date certain, we want to come back within the next 3 months or something to hearing before you again, and that would be fine. Otherwise, to answer your question, Commissioner, we, generally, the city attorney's office and code enforcement aren't going to move forward with code enforcement actions until this process is finalized in some way, because we don't want to penalize the applicant who's trying to come into compliance.
Sorry.
It's just going.
Yeah,
It's on.
yeah.
I think if maybe we were to set a 2-month to come back,
It's reasonable.
I mean, it's not like we're talking about big structure to put up there for them to agree to. It's a post with a couple of kickers.
Well, why don't we do this? I want to open the public hearing again because I want to hear from the applicant and the folks who live up the hill, what their opinion is of this. So I'm going to reopen the public hearing. If you want to come forward, please do.
Thank you. So John, just want to remind everyone, this structure has been, we started seeing this since last September. So it's been already several months. So I hope that is taken into consideration. If we extend this as the owner, like our view is going to keep being blocked, and we do wish there is a resolution as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And if the applicant would like to come forward and maybe speak about timeline.
I was going to say, whatever can help. We were already willing to offer, at least take down the top framing for now while we go through this extra months and seeing how we can improve and other options to present our client and everybody here. But definitely willing to comply and at least taking off the frame portion. It is just 2 7-inch posts, but willing to do that. And I did know from the top of her approved permitted fence, by the time you get from the gap from the fence to my framing, about 3 feet 6 inches. So I get it, moving it, but I also wanted to know, was that an option too? If when I'm at the height of the wall, the back of the house, can that also be an option as well too? To lower it, that gap between, if your fence was there, you're obstructed by the view anyways, right? So just wanted to throw that out there as well.
So I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to request to put up story poles so that any option like you just suggested can be approved by the neighbors.
So basically, just showing them so they can see it from there and just kind of going back to them at all options. When they're happy, then we can see if our client's happy, but we got to kind of present to them at all times at this point.
That's correct.
Okay. Can do that. Thank you.
Anyone else in public today want to speak on this? No. Okay, then I'll close the public hearing again. Now back to motions.
So I'd like, unless somebody wants to talk, okay, I'll make a motion that we continue this project, given the advice that they work with the neighbor on alternate solution that either moves it over or lowers it to not impact the view. And that I would like to set a 2-month time limit for them to come back.
Story polls.
Well, yeah, they need to have the story poles up and come back with a solution that they've agreed to with the neighbor within 2 months so that we can move it forward.
And we'll take them up on the offer to remove the horizontal frames.
Yes.
In the
Agreed.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Say. Any other discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye, and that motion passes 7-0-0-0. That's unappealable, right? Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 7C, 1241 to 1251 Whitehorn Way. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at that appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to know any ex parte communications regarding this project? Okay, seeing none, let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
This application is for a conditional use permit for wholesale auto sales within an existing commercial building zoned innovation industrial. On July 8th, 2024, the Planning Commission approved a conditional use permit for auto storage at 1241 to 1251 Whitehorn Way. The applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit for wholesale auto sales. The tenant space totals 9,901 square feet, and the use occupies 2 of the 4 tenant spaces in the building. The site was approved for a private office and warehouse space for private auto storage. The current request is to add wholesale auto sales as an ancillary use to the site. Staff is recommending approval of this request for a conditional use permit based on the findings found in the staff report and draft resolution. This concludes my presentation. The applicant is available to address any questions, but first, do you have any questions for staff?
I have a quick question. So this conditional use permit, if we approve this project, if we approve this conditional use, does it move forward with this property forever if we approve this use?
Yes, it would. It runs with the land.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Well, I actually have another question. It runs with the land, but should this structure at some point be demolished for another project, then what?
I believe we already have a condition of approval in there that says that if the building is demolished, then
That's right.
the variance or the
We thought
condition
of
use
that.
permit becomes void. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And it would run with, I believe there's also a condition of approval that speaks to this specific space as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you'd like us to know about your project?
Good evening, Chair. Happy New Year. And thank you. My name is Salesh Mehra. I'm the applicant's representative. No, I think the staff presentation was more than adequate. We would certainly align with the staff recommendation. The proposed conditional use permit complies with all of the necessary findings. We've reviewed the conditions of approval, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Camarado.
So I think what we did discuss the last time you were here, and maybe I'm mistaken, but this was for primary use, right? So this applicant was this was his.
The car storage is the primary.
Okay. And so my question is, these cars that now are possibly for sale, are these going to be his cars that are for sale, or are they other cars coming in from other?
No, these are only his cars. So out of the car collection, if there's someone expresses interest in purchasing one of his cars, then that would be available for sale should they agree on the terms.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I see where you're going with that. It's like, well, why do you need to change the use to sell a car?
Yeah, if you're going to sell your own car, why do you need to change the use of this piece of property to sell a car that belongs to you?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if there's tax ramifications or business license issues with the city, which I can understand, but I'm not feeling really comfortable that, we've given this use and now we're going to allow this use to continue on, to change, and give the benefit to this owner to now sell his own vehicles out of his own collection, and then it runs with the. I'm feeling a little. not so secure on this one, and I don't know why they're doing this.
Maybe
So if I may, the primary use is car storage, private car storage of this gentleman's private car collection. If he decides to purchase a car or sell one of his cars, this will be a very secondary or ancillary use to that. And it's really just, it's not so much a city requirement, but a DMV requirement. The DMV requires that in order to sell the vehicles, he must obtain a license from the DMV, and the DMV will send that paperwork to the city to verify that that transaction can take place within city limits. So that's all this is for. It's simply just paperwork or.
But in that case, I mean, we have many individuals in the city who probably sell cars out of their own house, but they don't need to have a conditional use permit on their property to sell their own vehicle, correct?
Correct. So the finer point here is it will give him the ability to function as a wholesaler, which gives him some benefits by way of taxes and or being able to save money on that transaction.
Okay. I know. I understand. Okay, thank you.
But you're right. He could, without needing a wholesale license, he could complete those transactions as it stands right now.
Thank you.
any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Say.
Oh, yes. So I staff report that there's sufficient space to accommodate the delivery and transactions to and from the site of these automobiles. How often would you project that this would be happening?
So the staff report caps it at 4 to 6 transactions annually, but I don't even think it will be that. The way a transaction would occur is if someone sees a car that they like, there won't be anyone visiting the site. This will be done online. A truck will come pick up the car, and the car will be delivered to the purchaser.
But wasn't there something about there could be visitors or customers coming 3 or 4 times a day or something like that?
No. Certainly not a day.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out where the numbers were. So
I mean, if he's capped it,
3 to 4 hours open 3 to 4 hours a day, 3 to 4 days a week.
So
Be the opposite.
the primary use of storage, and the applicant may end up working there as well. So he'll have an office. And if he has a client, a client may visit him during those hours. As far as customers are concerned, it will be rare if a customer ever comes to the site. This is a very valuable and private collection. The applicant will not have random people visiting the site.
Okay, thank you.
can I clarify in the conditions, it's limited to like 4 cars a year or something that low? Is that what the conditions say?
The condition does not include a specific number, and we typically don't do that because it's very difficult to enforce or to even figure out how many cars are being sold per year. Given the level that it's only a couple of cars probably per year, that's why we didn't include a condition of approval to limit the number of cars. Because what if they're over by 1? I mean, I think it's reasonable to allow some flexibility rather than have them come in to amend the conditional use permit for like 1 or 2 extra cars.
I can appreciate that. And I can appreciate the use that this applicant wants to have. And you're very clear about it and everything's been good. But as we've said, this conditional use approval goes with the land. So our client here passes or decides he's no longer in the car business and he sells his building or lease, and this CUP goes along with it, The next guy might be selling 50 or 60 cars a year and then would be having people coming in 3 or 4 times a day and 4 at a time. And one of our biggest concerns was the parking, right? This doesn't have adequate parking to be a retail business. And then that would impact, because I remember when we looked at this to begin with, how impactful all of these businesses that are there are all sharing the parking on Whitehorn, and they're all trying to play nice, which I agree, but I don't want to necessarily put a permitted now use that could be abused outside of what we all thought we were going to do.
Well, so perhaps, I mean, the applicant is 4 to 6 cars per year. If you want to add some flexibility, you can add a condition, say up to 10 cars or 15 cars to capture any anomalies that might.
I am willing to go there. It's not the 4 to 6. It's I don't want 4 to 6 customers a day.
No.
Multi-browsing and then having cars on the street.
So if I may also,
Museum and a retail sales is different than a collector sale.
I
so the,
think, sorry.
no worries.
I think for me, it's not about what you're going to do, it's what the next person's going to do. And so we need to, I feel like, control this.
Right.
Yeah, we get one opportunity here to decide how we're going to move forward with. And so that's my concern, is that it is being, we're giving kind of a free rein if we aren't very clear here.
Well, I think your conditions of approval attached to the previous use permit, the main use permit, control that. And then you have conditions attached to this use permit that will control that also. So if Mr. Solomon vacates the site and a new person comes in, you as the planning commission or the city has the right to review the new operations, and those operations must still fit with the approved use permit. If they deviate from that, you have the authority to call that use permit in for review. And with respect to the parking, Commissioner, my client is allocated 9 parking spaces. He will not use 9. He will probably use 1, maybe 2 at the maximum.
Totally realize that your client's not going to necessarily be the abuser of this. It's the downstream. But if there is the re-review of the next applicant and the next applicant wants to be a retail sales, that's going to be different, right?
Right. So the conditions of approval speak to wholesale auto sales. Now another wholesale auto sales business could come in and have more cars. So just keep that in mind. If it's retail, yes, then we would bring back the conditional use permit. So you still may want to limit the number of
To me,
vehicles.
if we kept it as a wholesale limitation with under 20 cars a year, gives your guy plenty of room to work with, but then keeps us away from an abusive downstream user.
Plus, if I can just say, if I'm understanding these, they're complaint-based. So it's people starting to complain and then it ends up back here anyway, but it's annoying. I guess it's, right?
Mhm.
So,
Right. I mean, multiple
So,
customers is going to
yeah.
be no parking.
right.
Parking,
Right.
all of the neighbors are going to have issue. And it will be back here.
Mhm.
So I think if we can add that caveat to our approval, I don't actually see an issue with it. Because it's in line with the original application that we're just
Mhm.
extending the privilege.
Yeah. So you would just include that in your motion with.
Okay.
How many cars?
There's-
Get this going.
Do we have any other questions for this applicant?
Oh.
No. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I have to ask if there's anyone attending in public that would like to speak on this item. No. Okay, then I'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now.
I'd like to thank you for your clarity and being able to answer our questions, get what your client is doing. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the CUP application with the condition that it is a wholesale with a maximum of 20 vehicles per year.
Based on the findings in
And the rest of the
draft
findings.
resolution. Thank you.
How does 20 sound to you all?
So for me, I think it's high.
Want to do 15? I think it's a little high too.
I think it's a little high. I think 15, 10 or 15 is kind of where I was going at.
12. I was going to say 12, one per month. Let's do it.
Well, let's do 12, one a month, and then I'll second that motion.
Does the maker of the motion agree?
I can live with that change to the motion so that it's 12. I was just trying to be a bit more flexible than my peers.
Okay. Any other discussion? No. Okay. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
I'm sorry, the second was Commissioner
Camarado.
Camarado? Okay. Commissioner, oh, go ahead, Fazia.
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. That motion passes 7-0-0-0. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations. All right. Last action item of the evening is item 7D, 1855 to 1881 Rollins Road. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit this project site, or do any commissioners wish to know any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report, please?
This application is for a master sign program for a new double-faced projecting sign above the first story on a mixed-use residential building zoned North Rollins Road mixed use. The master sign program also includes review of the size of the upper floor sign since it exceeds 60 square feet. The proposed application includes one double-faced projecting sign, 70 square feet per side, on the Rollins Road frontage located on the second and third stories of the building. Staff is recommending approval of this request for a master sign program based on the findings found in the staff report and draft resolution. This concludes my presentation. The applicant is available to address any questions, but first, do you have any questions for staff?
So I'd like to know, sorry, I have a lot of staff questions tonight. Sorry, guys. I'd like to understand some of the other projects that we've had, Ruben. How tall have these? I don't recall that we've approved signage that's bigger than what we normally allow.
The most recent one we had for like a mixed-use building or a multi-family residential was 1 Adrian Court. And that is taller than this sign.
Yeah.
So it's up on.
So we have.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, it's up on the 4th or 5th level, I believe. And that sign package included more signs. They're just proposing one double-faced sign here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. Will the applicant please come forward, state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Kyle Staley with the Hanover Company, design director for the project. And I don't have anything else to add to the presentation, but happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Commissioner Pfaff.
Yes, if I may. So I'm very into signage, fonts and things. So I did notice, I went through your website and you have some variations on the theme. I mean, is this sort of your font, is it kind of like just your trademark, or do you, because I noticed sometimes you have them running the other way. I don't.
Right.
We're not here, I guess, to judge your design. I guess that's not our purview, but I noticed sometimes you have them running the other way, sometimes you have lines between them, and so anyway, just was
Right, we studied several different variations
Mm-hmm.
of this project, and based on the design of the building itself and whether or not this arrangement of the sign was appropriate for this site and for the
Mhm.
project. And we appreciated that this arrangement of the verticality of the sign with the ribbon element that's on the rest of the building seemed to make the most sense, rather than interrupting it with
The
extra
lines or running.
lines.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? No? Then I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments or motions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the sign package per the staff report and conditions of approval,
Per the finding.
per the findings.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
I get it, actually.
Motion by Commissioner Schmidt, seconded by Commissioner Say. Any other discussion? No. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-0-0. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, study session. We have 2 tonight. First item, 8A, 1661 Westmore Road. Were any commissioners not able to visit this project site, or do any commissioners wish to know any ex parte communication regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yeah, before Fazia summarizes the staff report, I did want to let the commission know that we are now doing action minutes. So action minutes, basically, we're not going to have a lot of detail in our minutes, but what we'll ask you to do is that in your motion, that you summarize the action or the points that you want the applicant to consider, or the changes you want them to consider, and include that in your motion. So as you're, and you do a good job at this kind of naturally, where you're discussing the project and you're coming up with different points and different things you want to see do if you want to them make some changes. But if you can clearly kind of state that at the end, whoever's making the motion, that you would just list those items, and then someone would second it, and then you would take a vote.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So we generally agree, but not always. So for those who do not agree, is there going to be some kind of opportunity to, I mean, how is that captured? Or it's not?
Right.
Because things come back. This is the issue I have with us streamlining. Things do come back for a variety of reasons. Sometimes stuff is done on site. We wouldn't have approved it, et cetera. And sometimes they happen to be issues that we discussed in here as being a potential problem. So how do we then see that, oh yeah, that we talked about that a year and a half ago, that it could have been, but the votes weren't there from some of us maybe who were in the minority or vice versa, whatever it was. So how is that going to be, I think it's important. So how's that captured? Or do we then, is it on us, you, somebody, to go back and look at the film, because it's not in writing, to say, yeah, remember, this was what happened. This half of the group, or almost half, did not want this because of whatever. So that's, this is a policy issue, but I'm concerned that if we're only capturing action in the pro, for the affirmative, is there any way to capture the other? If there was one concern in particular, a couple of.
I think then you want to just make sure that that gets captured in the motion. So even though, and you all do a good job at this, where, maybe 3 things are listed, and then the commissioner might say, oh, wait, but remember, we also discussed this point. So you'll want to include that. And we'll try to follow along as well to try to capture the points and remind you of that. Oh, did you also want to include this point? And then it's up to really the applicant to consider whether to address that. And they'll have to respond to that point or to that comment before they return to the Planning Commission. But I would say try to include everything you can in that motion, even though it might just be one Planning Commissioner thinking of that.
Okay.
If the meeting videos will be available if commissioners want to go back and listen to the full discussion, but we are stepping away from doing kind of verbatim minutes and going to action minutes. It's also helpful for the applicant to also at the end of the discussion kind of really know what do I need to address. So that is the point where you want to make sure you include all your comments.
Okay.
All right, Fazia, take it away.
This application is for design review, variance for front setback, and special permit for plate height for a new single-unit dwelling and attached garage, zoned R1. Staff would note that the proposed project qualifies as substantial construction since it includes removal of more than 50% of the exterior walls. Therefore, it is considered to be a new single-unit dwelling and attached garage. The project proposes a total floor area of 2,030 square feet, where 2,778 square feet is the maximum allowed, with a 42 square feet front porch exemption. The applicant is proposing a front setback variance to the attached garage. The proposed setback is 20 feet 3 inches measured from property line to front of the garage wall. For a one-car garage, a 25-foot setback is required. The applicant is also proposing a special permit for plate height for the main dwelling and the attached garage. 9 feet 11 inches at the main dwelling and 11 feet 4 inches at the garage proposed, where 9 feet is the maximum allowed. The new dwelling would contain 3 bedrooms. 2 parking spaces are required. 1, which must be covered, is provided in the one-car garage. All other zoning requirements have been met. This concludes my presentation. The applicant is available to address any questions, but first, do you have any questions for staff?
I just want to confirm that all the trees are already gone, right? The 2 redwoods in the back and the gum in the front, sweet gum in the front yard.
I believe just the 2 redwood trees have been removed. The sweet gum in the front is still remaining. However, they do have a tree removal permit approved to
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and all the city staff. Wayne Lee here, the architect and also the applicant of the project. Am I able to do a quick presentation?
Please do.
Okay. Well, the project is pretty straightforward. I'm going to just give you a high-level contextual information of the area. So the lot size is 50 by 105 feet plus or minus. Existing structure is a 1-story dwelling with 1-car garage, 2 bedrooms, and 1 full bath, and then typical living, kitchen, dining area. So as we all know, no one is getting younger, and my clients, they are here except the little boy. It's a household of 5. So, and then the eldest girl is about to go to high school, so they are desperately need more space for, you can imagine, all kinds of reasons, privacy, or I was told like today, like when one of them was doing homework, they have to pull out the foldable table and do homework. So I think we can do better, and I trust that my clients work hard. So the proposed addition is pretty modest and humble. We are not having any net increase in terms of height. If you measure the existing roof ridge has the highest point from grade. And then the the staff mentioned about the two application, the variance application. Every time I heard about variance, the word, I got nervous. Maybe some neighbors who are here may have the same feeling. I just want to clarify that the variance for the front setback, the existing garage door actually is at the location where we are proposing the widening of the garage. So we are not proposing additional encroachment onto the existing front yard. But what it is part of the city requirement. So that's the variant application. And then for the special permit for the plate height, just because of the lot is slightly going uphill, so the front portion of the house, as you can see in this slide, has a small crawl space. And in order to have one common finished floor, it just makes sense for the front portion of the addition to be at the same height. So that's how you measure the plate height from grade. So that's why we are over. So we are not proposing like a 20-foot height or something funny here. So the proposed design, like what the staff mentioned, so very humble, basically 3 bedrooms, and one will become the master suite so that my client can really enjoy some privacy finally. And then 2 other bedrooms, and the 3 kids will share 1 full bath, and 2 of them will have to share 1 bedroom. We're trying to capture the natural light, and the front is north facing, but the south is the backyard, and we have all kinds of direct light from the back, especially now the 2 50-inch diameter redwood trees are gone. So it's pretty straightforward project. So I'm here to answer any other question if you may have.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Commissioner Pfaff.
Yes. Well, the first one is you mentioned you were not asking for a front setback variance. I thought that it was 5 foot. I'm reading well in my staff report, if I can find that here. Thank you.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
the
front setback. Yeah, you are asking for a front setback variance. So that's the first question, but you were asking for actually, you are not retaining a lot of the structure that's there. It's over 50%. So my question is generally, just the big picture.
Yep.
Why not a do-over? Why not start over? Because there's not much left.
That's a good question. So I was just trying to clarify. We are not proposing additional encroachment onto the existing front yard. So the existing garage door, if you will, is already a non-conforming structure. So I just want to clarify that because when people hear about variance, they get nervous. So that's number one. And then number 2, you were talking about, well, why not just completely demolish the house, right? We did try to respect the walls and all the elements. But unfortunately, we are at the borderline. I think I worked with the city staff on that for a long time. The way this particular city calculate the removal of wall is when you have a window, existing window, but if you infill the windows, you still consider the linear feet of that window width as a demolition. So it is what it is. So, but ideally, yeah, let's just completely remove the entire house and then start from scratch. It will be easier for everyone, right? But I think it comes down to cost and also the construction schedule. Potentially, if we open up the floor, yeah, maybe there has to be some kind of seismic retrofit to the existing concrete piers. So did I answer your question?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a question regarding the skylights. one, they're not noted, they're not really shown on the elevation or on the rendering. So next time when you come, if those could just be, make sure. And I'm just curious of the location of why you have them set. It looks like one of them's in the powder room or above the powder room. And I'm just curious as to why maybe you didn't put it on the west facing side of the roof as opposed to the forward front, the street facing.
I think you're correct. There are 3 new skylight, and it comes down to light harvesting, the natural light. One is at the powder room because it's basically landlocked without windows. The other one is for the share full bath for the 3 kids. They do have a small window facing the front, but more natural light the better. And also it's not facing these 2 skylights I just mentioned. So the other one is for the master bathroom. Once again, it's the light. Yeah, trying to have more light.
So basically for the bathrooms that have a lot less natural light, you're saying, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, Commissioner Say.
Yeah, so at the rear of the house, the projections of the primary bedroom and the dining room or the kitchen are 9-foot plate heights, correct? At the rear elevation,
That is correct.
9-foot plate height. What is the reason for the 9'11" requested on the front bedroom on the right?
Oh, if you look at the front elevation, in order to have one common finished floor instead of going down, because the existing and proposed finished floor is elevated. Because like what I said earlier, the front of the house is an uphill lot. So when you go to the back, getting out to the rear yard is plus or minus level. But at the front, it's like 3 feet, I think 3 feet plus or minus higher than the grade. So that was the whole reason to have the taller plate height.
I understand that. I mean, I think the reference is to the same finished floor level at the front and the back of the house. So just trying to understand why one bedroom is getting a 9'11" plate height, whereas the others are getting 9 feet, all in reference to the same floor level. I think that's what's leading you to your plate height.
Right.
Right? Is this one room?
It just better taller ceiling height, a little bit more room for the 2 kids sharing the bedroom at the front. That was the only reason.
And you're planning a volume ceiling in that room?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And especially, I don't know if you guys have seen all the story in Southern California. So I was expecting someone may ask, how come the look of the house is pretty modern without projection within the 5 feet side setback? So when we drew it, we didn't expect the craziness in Southern California, but we are all for like minimum design. And the eave or the projection, you could argue that, well, you can provide some kind of shade and shading on the wall to bring down the heat gain or whatsoever, but the building department will require us to fireproof that projection anyway. So that's one of the reasons why we just don't have any projection and then put the gutter there.
Any other questions? All right. Then we will ask if there's any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Jeff Liu. I'm the homeowner of 1661 Westmore Road. And I just want to share just a little bit more for why we're doing this. I know Wing did share that. As a resident of Burlingame for over 8 years and being also a Bay Area native growing up here, we're looking to update the house. If you've seen it, or I have seen some of you guys come by, actually. it's, it's fairly on the older side. There hasn't been much updates, if any. So we've been trying to, take care of it. And at the same time, we want to modernize it. As Wing mentioned, we're a family of 5. We obviously knew coming in, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. So we knew at some point we wanted to renovate that. And at this point, we definitely are looking forward to doing that, just again, where we are in life with the kids and so forth. So we hope to move forward with that. Just quick examples. I mean, again, one bathroom for the 5 of us, 2 bedrooms. We're sharing a lot there, and just sharing a lot of spaces together. So we make it work, but I think it's time that we kind of expand a bit and renovate it. So I appreciate that, and just again, everything else with the neighborhood itself, the area, community, and all the schools that we're in and engaged in. We just love to continue this process and continue to be part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Sydney Liu, and I'm a student at BIS. I would love for our house to I would love to remodel our house so that I could have a peaceful place to do my homework, because it's really cramped and I do my homework on the floor. I would also love to have my own room and have peace and quiet instead of sharing it with my brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to comment? Okay. Then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any comments? Commissioner Camarado.
So I really appreciate that you guys are keeping it on the smaller side and not making a large home here. And I appreciate that you're trying to build it for your use right now with the kids. So I totally get it. I would say that I think that this project needs a little bit of help as a design perspective, especially exteriorly. And some of my thoughts are, I don't have a problem with the setback of the garage or any of that. My concern is the look from the front. I feel like the window in that bedroom is not central located. I understand what your floor plans show inside and how you want to put the beds, but maybe you could reconfigure the room itself, because the window exteriorly looks odd, kind of placed over to the, as you're looking at it to the left. I feel like the house is lacking some detail and some charm. It's a really cute, charming house now. I know it's older, and I know you want to modernize it, but I'd like to see some, the siding just doesn't do it for me. I'm not quite sure. It's just lacking some of the details that I would be expecting on a home in this area. Initially, I will tell you that, and I'll wait to see what my colleagues say, but I would send this to a design consultant. But I'd like to see what my other colleagues recommend.
Commissioner Pfaff.
Yeah, well, we usually ask the questions first and then we make the comments. That's why I at least hadn't commented on the actual design of it. I would think this could benefit greatly. I don't particularly think it is a benefit to the design to have eaves that don't hang over. I don't think the fire issue is, with the materials these days, I don't think that would be an issue. Most of us have eaves, and we see eaves most of the time, so I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think the verticality is doing this much favor. And just generally, I wanted to say the neighboring, at least the neighbor on the left, it's a very charming house, has a lot of detail. It's an older house, but it has you want to kind of fit in, I think, more than what's happening now. It is true in that neighborhood, there are newer houses than a lot of areas in Burlingame, but we have had 2 homes in that neighborhood in the last couple of years. There was one on Killarney, and I get the street names mixed up, but anyway, they came initially with things that were not quite as stripped back as this, and we also commented that we felt they could benefit from much more rich and detail to match the majority of the homes that are there. So I too feel this could greatly benefit by design consultant who could pull it together, maybe cut back some of this verticality, which is, looks a little like a shed or a little too much, I think, like a shed, like a ready-made, I forgot the name of that company, but you want to keep away from the shed look, I think. And so if you do something like that, it has to be done very carefully. So I am at least in agreement with my colleague that just spoke, that this would be a great design consultant project.
Commissioner Say.
Yeah, just I think I generally agree with that, but I wanted to put some more specifics to maybe guide a design review consultant if that's the direction that we go in, or to the applicant. I want to say that I like the rear elevation more than I like the front elevation. I think the rear elevation has some nice balance. There's some symmetry there. There's some good window openings. Like I can imagine lots of natural light coming in, and I think that's wonderful. When you look at the front elevation, there's one singular window. I know it relates to the interior floor plan. If you're going to put 2 twin beds more on the right side of the room, and you don't want the windows over the beds, but from the outside, it doesn't really make sense where the window is, and in terms of its shape and sizes too, the 2 window openings aren't matching. There's nothing specific stating why it should look like that from any kind of design perspective. So a little assistance there. The thing that bothers me the most about the front elevation is that there's a very tall, what we call kind of a forehead above the garage door and above the window over the bedroom. There's I know a deliberate approach to try to keep this a very simple, modern design, but it doesn't mean that there couldn't be something to add some design aesthetic to this front elevation and improve it in terms of curb appeal. I think the vertical planks or siding is accentuating the height of the height of the front, the finished floor height being whatever 3 or 4 feet above grade, and that's not helping you in terms of, again, the approach from the street. The garage door looks very low and short. Meanwhile, the front door sits up really high. And so I think there needs to be some horizontal elements, some kind of a relook at how the massing of this front of the house works to pull it together cohesively. And I didn't ask the applicant when he was up at the podium, but there's something wrong at the roof over the front door in comparison to the rest of the roof. I think on the roof plan it shows that the roof actually comes down lower, but in elevation it's shown higher above the roof of the garage. So if the applicant can take a look at that as well. In the front door, the design of the front door is fine as a front door style, but it doesn't work with the style of the home. And your garage door looks very modern. The house design overall is looking modern on all sides, but the front door is that an original existing door? No, it's not the existing door. So I think, take a look at the style of the front door as well. I also want to point out that the sides of the house have very little window openings. When you're using skylights to try to bring light inside the home, one of the best ways, of course, to bring light into the house is through just windows on the sides of the house. And I don't think you're helping yourself by having a whole wall of, I don't know if it's millwork and closets and such that might be preventing you from adding windows along the left side of the house, but you could benefit from having some additional window openings along that side. And the other side's a little bit better with some bedrooms that are forcing you to have some, actually, there's only one again. So I think, again, the rear elevation looks great. I think the other sides need a little help. And those are some of the more specific elements that could be addressed.
Anyone else?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I'll just say that I'm not okay with that 9-foot 11 plate height variance on the front either. I think the 9-foot looks fine on the back. And I don't see the justification, especially with a volume ceiling inside of a kid's bedroom. That starts at 9 feet, that's going to go up to 11 feet probably. That's plenty volume inside of a small room.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes, I agree. The back elevation looks better than the front elevation, just because the plate heights and just everything kind of squishes down a little bit better. I think that the front elevation needs most work. I think that there's an opportunity to bring that roof over that bedroom down and kind of align it with the existing gutter that's going across the front door. I think if you created kind of an up and down at that same level, you'd be fine. But I think you need to look at some articulation over the garage. There could be an eyebrow element there, depending on the style that you want to choose. If you went a little bit more craftsman-y on this, you could do a wood eyebrow over that, and you would take away the forehead, and then our scale issue would start to go away. And you could go over on the bedroom side, and you could go with a belly band at the eave level, and change the material at the top there, and that would bring down the scale of that as well. I think, that particular neighborhood does have a lot of no eave, very small trim that was, favored in that time when that neighborhood was built. But I think that there's some opportunity here to do a little bit larger fascia boards, which will then bring your scale better as far as these elements, and not make it look like it's just going up. So I think that there's some opportunities. Like I said, I think the front elevation is the toughest, and I understand the downhill. I had that on my house too, and had to deal with it. And I think that being cognizant of some landscaping in front of the bedroom wall might help bring out, take away some of that bottom verticality. You just need a bit more articulation there, I think, to make it sing. I'm a little concerned about the skylights facing forward facing backwards. So I think they should be intentionally included into the next round so that we're seeing them, and so that they're approvable. I think those were my main issues. I think you need to work on including the window details for us so that we can see the types of windows that you're doing, how it comes out, the trims that you're going to use, because more trims you use, the more articulation you're going to get, and the less it's going to look stripped down. Because that's part of this, modern or minimal also then gets interpreted as stripped. And I know that you're not trying to do something cheap necessarily, but it will come off that way in drawings. Renderings help make it look a little better, but straight line work drawings doesn't favor that. So I would make sure of that. And the lighting, gutters, all that kind of stuff that comes in will make these drawings fill out. And we'd like to make sure that you're kind of getting all that stuff in at the beginning, and it's not a late decision later where the contractor doesn't do a very nice job. And the siding, as you guys think about the siding, if you're going to end up going with composite siding, they don't always look as good as real siding. And so you really got to think about your details, your corners and transitions. So I'd hate for, the choice of a composite siding at the last minute to then mean for poor execution of corners and details. So, sorry.
No.
I'm trying to give a lot of direction.
I'll try not to be too repetitive because I agree with my fellow commissioners. Just some comments. I agree with Commissioner Say about the plate height for the front bedroom. I don't think that's necessary given that it's a vaulted ceiling and it's too vertical as it stands now, especially because it's 5 feet closer to the sidewalk. I think this house would look better in a modern stucco finish than in this composite vertical siding. It would be simple and clean, and I think it would look really less tall as a result. I don't like bringing siding all the way down to the ground. I like a foundation belt line of some sort, and it's just odd that the siding goes all the way to the ground around all 4 sides of the building. I do like the rear elevation. Positive, the layout I think is really clever, simple, efficient. From plan, the H kind of design, it looks really good in plan. So these comments for me are all more about the exterior elevation. From the only other comment maybe to add to the commissioners is the front door is just jammed to the left, and it just looks like it's not taking advantage of the width of the front porch. It looks a little bit odd how it's so far over to the left. So that's a kind of similar comment about the window in the front bedroom. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be centered, but it just looks like it's too far to one side it's almost a juxtaposition of the symmetry of the H. It's like a perfect symmetry in plan, and then in elevation, it's a little bit jumbled.
Mr. Camardo? Mr. Shores.
I was just going to briefly mention that I don't have anything to say because everyone else has already pretty much covered everything. I just wanted to add that I'm fine with the front setback variance. I think only a few people mentioned that and they said they were okay with it. Yeah.
I think we need to look at the exterior lighting. I'm not seeing any lighting here, and I think you probably want some lighting, soften some of those details, especially by the front garage and the front door. So just, take a look at the lighting and add some lighting for sure.
And look at what
the code
have for the code,
because it has
a very specific light.
I just lastly wanted to say I appreciate the family without the son joining us this evening and advocating for your home. And we're not here to tear apart your home or anything like that. We love the floor plan. There's lots of things working for it, but we're here to just help you build the most beautiful home that you can have on your property. So appreciate all the personal speeches.
Okay, so do we want to bring this back or do we want to send this to a design consultant?
I propose we bring it back to a design review consultant. I think there's too many things that we've kind of asked the applicant to do, and I think they would benefit from just, what do you guys think?
I'm in agreement. I think there are too many disparate items, not necessarily disparate, but too many items. And I think that would be great if another person looks at it and pulls them all together. I think it'd be helpful to move it along as well.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a personal fan of the design review consultant. Maybe you could open the public hearing and just see if the architect feels like he understands the comments and is comfortable doing it himself, or would he like assistance from a design review consultant?
I just had one question. If we do recommend a design review, do they have to go down that route or can they come back with their own?
Yes, I think if you do make a motion to send it to a design review consultant, that they have to use.
They do have to do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take my co-chair's advice and reopen the public hearing. Do you mind coming back forward to the podium? So I think our question was, do you feel like you have enough guidance and, thought to come back, or would you like to meet with the design consultant before?
I think I'm very clear. If I could summarize real quick, that downplay the verticality of the expression at the front, more symmetrical expression or articulation in terms of massing and window position, accentuate any design element that would reinforce the curb appeal of the front facade that is visible from the public right of way, which may include some kind of consistency for the garage door, entry door, and even accessories element like wall sconces, for example, and find the balance between the blank wall, if you will, for example, the wall surfaces above the garage door. And of course, I missed the skylight at the front elevation. My apologies. I think I'm pretty clear. I think you guys are looking for something, another level of details, maybe around the window, not necessarily trims per se, but maybe just the horizontal band, if you will, has part of the waterproofing element. And then potentially, one of you was saying about well, it goes back to the verticality of the expression for the bedroom massing. I think potentially, for example, we can find ways like maybe a planter just for the first 3 feet and then putting some softscape or landscaping that would help a lot. So, but as your call, but I think I took all the notes.
Plus more windows on the sides of the house.
Yeah, that one may be tough. If you look at the floor plan, we're fighting for wall space. And also, as you all know, existing house doesn't have AC, but they would love to have AC, and heating, of course, is required. Now the 2 big redwood trees gone. They're trying to find a balance to be sustainable and energy efficient. The west-facing side, I would strongly recommend minimizing any window opening. Even the skylight, I would recommend even having smaller skylight just because of the heat gain and the solar gain. So yeah, but I remember that one.
I think one of the things is possibly not to eliminate the windows, but you can do, I think they're called like transition windows.
Clear story.
Those that are just higher up.
Transom.
Clear story windows.
Allow, what are they called?
Clear story windows?
Yeah.
Transom, clear.
Or transom.
Transoms? Yeah.
Just to allow some light into these bedrooms, which still allows you to have these large walls and space, but you need to create some light in these rooms. And if there's no windows, then
Yeah, the challenge for that is both houses on the left and right, they're 2-story. So privacy could become an issue. Now you can also argue, well, I'm going to have shade, but once you have a clear story window, it's just hard to even put the shade down and up, and unless you have motorized shades and stuff. So that's the reason. But we can work and take a look at it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other members of the public wish to speak? And we'll close the public hearing again. So,
Well, we could, if we recommended a design review consultant and forced them to do it, that's fine. And that may be a faster way. But I also feel like he's hearing us more than others. And I feel like he could come back and come back with another solution, but what that risk is that we come back the next time and still have more comments. And it may have to be continued if they don't get resolved.
So my question is, can we, if he comes back the second time and we don't like the project, can we say, you're going to go to a design review consultant now?
You have several options. You can deny the project. You can approve it as is. You can refer to a design review consultant at that point, but we just have to be careful. We're not getting into any issues with the number of meetings that this project is being spread over. So yeah, we just want to make sure you take that into consideration so we don't continue this for too many meetings.
The issue that I want to avoid, we sent a project to the design review consultant. They came back and we didn't like it. And I feel like if we send them to a consultant and then we criticize the design that that consultant comes up with, that's on us, right? So that's my concern. Like if we send somebody to a designer consultant, it's almost like, unless there's minor changes, we're rubber stamping what comes back.
And we could also bring it back on action. We can go to action or go to consent, whatever, and then at that consent meeting, still have that opportunity, right, to make some additional fine comments.
Yeah, typically in this case, based on the number of items you've expressed concern with, you would bring it back to regular action. And then at that point, depending on what additional items, you could condition it with the approval where staff can take a look at it, or you can bring it on consent, back to consent again.
I just want to say, in defense of design review, I'm trying to think which one that was, but I think probably 9 out of 10 times or more, we've been okay with what the design consultant has come up with. You'll have to remind me which one that was, but anyway.
Yeah. To Commissioner Schmidt's point, I'm in favor of it when it feels like the architect just isn't up to the task, and I'm not getting that feeling tonight, so.
And it's a one-story home and, it's a very nice floor plan. I think there's things happening for it. It's just not all pulled together. I would give him the chance to.
We have one side of the house that's good.
One side. 3 more to go now.
So I'd like to make a motion that we bring this back on action. We do have a long laundry list.
Yeah, what I can do is I can quickly just list those concerns that we captured just to make sure we have that so you don't have to repeat them in your motion. So it sounds like the motion is to bring it back to regular action with the following concerns expressed. So window at the front bedroom with regard to location, shape, and size. House lacks detail and charm. Concerned about siding, design, and material. Concerned with lack of roof eaves. Needs more detail to be consistent with neighborhood. Concerned with the verticality. Concerned with tall forehead above garage door and front bedroom. Add design aesthetic to improve curb appeal. Garage is low and entry door is high, so take a look at that. Concerned with massing at the front of the house. Take a look at the roof above the front door. Something's not quite right there. Design of front door doesn't work with the style of the house. Very little openings for this size of house. Add window openings. Reduce 9-foot 11-inch plate height at the front of the house to 9 feet to comply. Bring roof over front bedroom down to a line with roof above front entry. Add articulation above the garage door. Consider larger fascia boards. Look at landscaping along front of house to address verticality at front of home. Include skylights on building elevations. Include details for windows and window trim. Add exterior lighting and gutters and exterior details on building elevations. Consider a modern stucco finish would be simple and clean. And concerned about bringing siding down to the ground level. Do you think that captured most of what?
Yeah, I have one more.
Anything else?
I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't think that having no eaves is doing this any favors. I think it needs some kind of an eave.
Agreed.
So we just need a second and then vote.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Haran. Any other discussion? No? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. That motion passes 7-0-0, and this action is not appealable. Thank you very much. Okay, on to study session item 8B 723 Acacia Drive. Were any commissioners not able to visit this project site, or do any commissioners wish to know any ex parte communications regarding this project? Seeing none, let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have a staff report, please?
This application is for design review and special permit for height for a second floor addition to an existing single unit dwelling zoned R1. The application proposed to expand the existing second floor and remove the storage room at the rear of the detached garage. The proposed floor area is 3,475 square feet, where 3,611 square feet is the maximum allowed, includes covered porch and basement exemption. The applicant is proposing a special permit for the overall building height. The overall building height will be 32 feet and 1 inch, where the maximum allowed is 30 feet without a special permit. There's a total of 4 existing bedrooms. The project will increase from 4 to 6 bedrooms. 3 parking spaces are required. The applicant is applying for AB 2097, which prevents cities from enforcing the minimum number of parking spaces for a development project that is within 1/2 mile of a major transit stop. Since the project site is located within 1/2 mile of a bus stop along the El Camino Real, a parking variance for a second covered parking space is not required under AB 2097. All other zoning requirements have been met. This concludes my presentation. The applicant is available to address any questions, but first, do you have any questions for staff?
I just have a quick, it's a question/comment. I noticed on the landscape plans, it's very confusing because there's like 7 trees, but all of them except for 2 are on other people's property. So I just wanted to comment that I find that really difficult for me, at least to read, because it's not, I did chat to one of the planners about this property, and I know they went to great lengths to try to accommodate trees, but generally, I don't know that it's particularly useful to hear about the other trees, because if a neighbor takes a tree, or hedges or whatnot out, it's neither here nor there. I guess it's useful information, but then it should be really clear that this is on a neighbor property, and maybe it should be highlighted. It's just for going forward, and maybe that will be the new part of the new ordinance, that it's very clear. Also, street trees doesn't belong to them either. So they have 2 trees, and it was very hard for me to find out actually on the planting plan. So I just wanted to say that going forward. That's it.
Any other questions? All right, let's open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you'd like to add about your project?
Thank you, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. I too sat on a board like this not long ago, so I appreciate your time, your valuable time, and I'll try and keep this brief so we can all get home. So I'm here representing Dr. Alex Zeider, who's a local ICU doctor, and we're very lucky to have him in the area. And he's got a young upcoming family. They're all little tots, three kids, and they've just got to the point where they were deciding whether to keep the house, expand it, or look for something that was, already a larger home. And, they bought in this neighborhood because they love it, and they decided to commit to it and stick around. So the goal was to provide a second floor, more bedrooms, a little bit more flexibility for the family moving forward. So that's what's represented here. Sort of an existing, shingle style craftsman home, very, very quaint, very cute looking house, but it was one of those situations where maybe more attention was given to the front initially, and there's some nice details up front, but then as you wrap around, there were add-ons later, and the house just sort of dissolved into something less like the front. And so our goal was to make this a really holistic kind of approach to the architecture, maintain the shingles, really start elaborating on some of these dormer conditions and gable conditions, just to add more character to the house. And so that's what's represented here. I don't know if we can go to the exterior elevations. Yeah. So you see to the left there is down below is what exists. And again, there are some features, some materials that are used that add to the character of the house. But you can see in the upper left, we wanted to really elaborate on it and make it something really spectacular. There are some existing conditions that we needed to work with. For example, the front door and the stairs up aren't totally aligned. And so what we did is we changed the indoors a little bit to provide a little bit more elbow room and therefore center the door under that, dormer feature, that front porch feature, and therefore even centered on the stairs a little better too. So by accommodating a little bit of the interior there, we were able to center it. The door is not centered on the entire house, but that's sort of the condition that we had with the remodel. But I think our efforts were not in vain at all. I think are a vast improvement to the house. We did incorporate the rear of the house that was sort of that addition, that boxy flat roof addition. We wanted to incorporate that into some of these hip to roof conditions and really start to give the character all the way around the house. So all the windows are going to be cased with the same materials and elaborate, a little bit more elaborate than what exists today. A little more consistency in the windows. But yeah, I mean, the staff report was great. I think it really outlines everything that we're trying to do with the house and some of the hurdles we had to go through to get here. But I think all got to this point where we're all very happy with it. So yeah, other than that, I'm happy to take any questions or answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
A few.
Commissioner Say?
Yeah. Let's see. Just a quick one. I think it's this sheet that we're looking at. A301 just has drawings 3 and 4 mislabeled. Obviously, those are existing elevations and not proposed.
Yeah.
Teeny tiny edit. Just wanted to let you know. What are the materials of the existing windows that are remaining? So there are a few along the left elevation.
Right. There's a couple, the bump out in the kitchen. The kitchen was recently remodeled, so they don't want to touch it. And it's an existing window bump out, little bay window that doesn't have divisions in it. And so the goal was to keep that in place. It's
What type
sort of the one in common.
those are? Sorry, what type of windows are those? Are they
They're
aluminum clad or?
They're casements on the side and fixed in the middle. On the bay, the pop out in the kitchen. The casements on the side and fixed in the middle, but the majority of them are double hungs. And I think even in some of the conditions upstairs where we needed egress, we had to make sure they were large enough to maintain egress, because that's a tough thing to do with double hung these days, is to get the requirements.
And then what's the material of those existing windows?
I believe they're wood trim, but wood. I think it's wood on the outside. It's not aluminum clad. It's a little bit of a mix, but we're trying to align them all throughout the house as best possible. But
You're doing aluminum clad everywhere else, all
Correct.
the ones, right? Okay, and these existing ones are wood, painted wood window.
correct. Yeah.
And then is the area you're proposing under that water table, is that like painted stucco?
That is painted stucco. Yeah.
Okay. And then what are you proposing at the corners?
Oh, we have brick. Believe I have, sorry, my apologies. I think we have brick down there now. Isn't it brick on the base? Stucco. Okay. Yeah. At one point we'd considered doing some sort of material, but I think we stuck with stucco. Yeah.
And you'll stick with painted stucco, okay. And then at the corner, how are you handling the corners where the shingles are meeting? Is there going to be a corner board? Are they mitered?
No, they'll miter. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank
Much
you.
more elegant look. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, good decision.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. So I noticed that you're infilling a window on the side. Is there a basement? And
There's a basement that doesn't qualify as a basement. It's sort of a very tall crawl space. Yeah. And so it's not, are you referring to the one down the lower right?
okay, so it's not occupiable and you're not removing the one way out.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good one.
Safety first.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant?
Well, actually, if you're taking out the stair in the back and you're taking out this window, how get to the crawl? Is there an opening?
Yeah, there's one, I can point it out.
Oh, is it on that?
In the rear elevation.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, as long as you got access.
Yeah. That's actually the best way in there.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, no other questions. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Many.
So many.
Left.
Doesn't look like it. Then I am going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much. Any comments? Yes. Commissioner.
Well, I just want to say this is one of the most beautiful renovations and second story additions I've seen like in a really long time. And I think it's really beautifully done. Just the nice beefy hangs, and it looks like it was built that way. And, you know, bravo. Nice. I think very nice job. So I have no change comments. And I completely understand the height issue in the front. Our home also has a door stoop where we have to go up, and it just makes everything higher. And it's exactly that same situation. We also needed a special permit. So I understand that situation as well. Thank you.
I second that.
Me too. I'll make a motion.
Me too.
I make a motion that we approve or bring this back on consent per the staff report. And what were the other things I got to remember?
Well, we don't have findings
We
yet
don't have-
because, yeah, it's not on action. So yeah, your motion would be to bring this back to the consent calendar. Sounds like with no changes to consider.
All good.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Say. No other discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Camerado,
Yes.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. So that passes 7-0-0-0, and that action is not appealable. Congratulations. We'll see you at consent. Have a nice evening. All right. Final agenda item is the staff and commissioner reports. Do we have any commissioner reports? No? Any staff reports?
Just to note that at the December 16th City Council meeting, the City Council adopted the ADU ordinance update. So that becomes effective day after tomorrow. And also the tree ordinance. And I believe that becomes effective at the same time. So staff is currently working kind of through the tree ordinance because that's a little bit more heavy and newer items in there. So we're working closely with the Parks Division. And as we get more comfortable with the information in there, then we'll be able to direct you all in your review of Planning Commission projects that require compliance with the tree ordinance. So
Would ask, I think it was Commissioner Camerado asked a few times ago, would we be able to have a study session on this?
that's something we'll need to talk to the city arborist about.
That would be
See
great.
If he can provide a briefing on that, yeah.
That'd be great.
And it might be a study session or it could be a study item at the end of the agenda at a regular meeting.
There was something I was going to bring up. I can't remember.
Okay, I'll bring it up while you think. Next Tuesday at City Council, is that the appeal for Mercy High School?
Possibly, we may have run into an issue with noticing requirements. So it is currently scheduled for next week's city council meeting, but it might need to be delayed to a meeting in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's some planning commissioner training coming up.
Yes, I believe it's January 30th. So I will forward that information to you all. We were going to get information from the 21 Elements group, the collaborative on that. So I'll forward that information to you.
Yeah, it's strange. It came to my personal email, but not in my planning commissioner's email.
Do you recall if you registered under your personal email? Or if you left your?
I mean, I only have one email. Oh, I don't know. Maybe when I read
Yeah.
time ago in the past, you mean?
Or for a previous training, perhaps?
Previous training, I might have.
Yeah, they might just have you on their list.
Did anyone else get that?
They looked you up.
Mm-mm.
I didn't get one there.
Yeah, so I'll forward it. I'll forward the information
Yeah,
to you.
that'd be great.
And I can't recall off the top of my head what the issue or what the subject is. It is January 30th.
I got a no before you go, no before one of those things, training things again.
Oh, yeah, we all got that.
Fake news.
That's the
Ignore this.
the email training. Yeah, and it sometimes it doesn't go out to everybody at the same time. I think they roll out
Oh,
at different points. So
Do I have to do them?
no.
They're always
To do them, I spent so long trying to get the answer.
one mistake.
This one was so, they're very strange, some of them.
Is there an update on what's happening with City Hall? And where it's going?
The only updates, I mean, that I've seen are just what's in the e-news. There's some information in there. But that would have to come from the city manager, city council. Yeah. So I don't have any information to share with you all.
And
I mean, no public information you can share. I'm not up to speed with all the
Yeah.
no.
I mean, I think the information out there is just how costly it is to build a new city hall or to build one here or to retrofit this one. I think a lot of that information the city wanted to get out to the public, but no decisions have been made moving forward in terms of what the city's is going to do about a new city hall or
Rent,
using an
moving.
existing building or
leasing space. So I just wanted to say I saw dirt or something being moved around in that for the town square. So something is happening there.
Yeah, they
Took some pictures for the archives.
Yeah, I think there was information in the e-news as well. So take a look at that. But yes, construction has started on the town square.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Do we know why they haven't done any of the TI, the tenant improvements for the restaurants or anything?
On the new building, the post office building? Well, we do have TI permits for like the retail, a retail store on the Lorton side. That's for Kohler, bathroom
Yeah.
hardware and stuff.
Saw their paper on the windows.
Yeah. We've heard that there are negotiations with other food establishments for other spaces along Lorton and in the old post office site. I haven't seen any building permits come in for those just yet. Actually, there might have been one for the Lorton space. And we don't know about what's happening with the office space above. So
Very good. Adjourn the meeting at 9:11 p.m.
Thank you.
thank you all.
Right.